Hey everybody, I'm over here with Sarah Cooper, who's been working with Church of the Pines. How are you, Sarah?
I'm doing pretty well. How about you?
Just trying to stay home, stay safe, although it is quite lovely, so probably going to go for a couple of very long walks today. I'm really looking forward to it. How about yourself? What's your average day look like so far?
I pretty much spend all day making face masks. I'm up at 8. I do my daily devotional, and then I start working. And I usually don't stop working until 10, 11 at night. Sometimes it's on up to 2 in the morning, depending on what I'm doing, if we have to make a delivery the next day,
Oh,
things
wow.
like that. But I try to I've been trying harder lately to take care of myself, to like get enough rest, because I'm not useful if I wear myself out. So um, the first week I didn't have a limit. I was really pushing myself, but I've learned
So
to sleep.
I know it. That kind of advice is exactly what my lady tends to say to me whenever I have an idea in my head. I just go a little too far, a little too hard, and then I have to scale it back a little too much, and trying to find that nice balance. So let's actually go back. So with Church of the Pines, you're starting to make face masks for the community.
Yes.
Um, Overall. So, what inspired everybody? How did the idea come about?
So I was actually at my mom's for the weekend. It was my husband's birthday, and so we were there spending time with family. And this was right before everything really hit the fan.
Like
So
around March 3rd to March 10th?
it was March 22nd. So like it had just started, but like there wasn't a like you have to stay at home all the time kind
Okay.
of feeling. Like it had just started in that area. And so we were spending time with family to celebrate his birthday.
Hmm.
And mom got a phone call from a friend of hers who she has done sewing projects for before. And this friend happens to run about 8 nursing homes around the Jacksonville, Tyler area.
Oh, wow.
And she asked mom to start making these face masks. She was like, make as many as you can. Just start now and go. Like, we need thousands of these things as soon as possible. And so that first night, we stayed up for about 24 hours straight making our first 100 masks. Just because we wanted to get like an even 100, and neither one of us really knew what we were getting into. So we set this goal without really realizing how much effort that was going to be. So um, after that, we just kind of kept going. More and more people reached out to us saying that, oh, sorry.
No, 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 no. I've got one that looks almost exactly like that. You may hear him screaming at the door. His name is Tabs. So, hey, we just get some cameo.
um, but more and more people were reaching out to us saying, like, we need these masks. And so I contacted my church, was like, hey, this is what we're doing. The need is huge and it's just going to keep getting bigger. So we need all the help that we can get. And they jumped on board right away.
So, uh, once you have made all these masks, like what are the distribution plans? I know you need, you said several thousands, so a nonstop supply.
Yeah.
Like, how does that get out to the rest of to everybody else?
So for the original person, Sandra, who contacted us asking for all of these masks, she will actually come and pick them up and deliver them to the people that she needs to get them to, just because she knows who she needs to give them to. Like she's given them to her nursing home, she's given them to EMTs. Um, like she's well connected in that area.
Hmm.
And because she is a medical professional, she can get to a lot of places that like they're trying to limit contact with a lot of people. And so she can get the masks out to a lot of places. Other than that, in Tyler, there's an ER that our church has been donating to, Hospitality Health. And we have been able to just take the masks directly to them. I know not every hospital is really quite as willing to do the whole just random person drop off.
Right.
um, but so if somebody's making masks and there is a hospital that they want to donate to, just call ahead and ask them how to do that. The need is so big. Like, the restrictions are kind of getting a little less and less, just because we need protection for our medical professionals. We need
Right.
protection for our patients. Like, it is a huge deal, and we're doing whatever we can to give them anything, and anything is better than nothing.
Absolutely. I actually was lucky enough to have my grandmother-in-law drop off a couple of masks for Destiny and myself to use so that we can be safe when we end up going out. A lot of people don't realize exactly how small the COVID-19 can be, and how easily it can slip on through a lot of just. I had to correct my mother because she was just simply wearing a bandana, and I was like, you know, it is smaller than that, and it just takes a few spores, not spores, but just has to get in contact with the mucus glands, and congrats, now you have it. So on that note, what exactly are your masks made of, and is there a place for a filter? Do you add it in yourself?
So there are a variety of masks. There's some that have a pocket for a filter. There's some that don't. The ones that we don't, or the ones that we make, are just basic, like surgical masks. Like, we don't have an additional pocket in there. In fact, I have one. It's just this little,
Oh, wow. Well, that
yeah.
looks really, really nice.
It's just like one of the disposable ones that you would get at a hospital. There's really nothing else to it. But the fabric is 100% cotton when we can. Sometimes we have to use a blend just because of availability, but cotton is preferred. More cotton, better. So that just helps to filter, and it's double layered. So it's not just a single
Right.
layer of cotton. Like, there's 2 layers of fabric, and then all of the pleats. And we have ribbon on the ends of the mask so that you can actually tie it to fit your head.
Mhm.
Part of it was because, like, you can't find elastic anymore. And instead of using the hair ties like a lot of people are doing, the ribbon is just easier to fit to individual people. So we don't have to worry about making different sizes for different people. It's just all, you tie it to fit. And so that helps as well, making sure that it's against your face, and like there's not room.
Right. How much time did you spend researching masks before you officially put thread to cloth?
Um, my mom spent about, how long was it? She was in constant communication with Sandra, because Sandra was the one that originally asked us to do this. Sandra was sending her tutorials. Mom was asking, how does this need to fit? Like, what are the benefits of this versus the elastic versus the ribbon? Like, what are your preferences? And so Sandra was a huge help in getting us the correct information. And like, we continue to do research. Like, we continue to look and see what other people are doing, how we can make ours better.
Mm-hmm.
But we're in constant communication with Sandra, because again, she isn't a medical professional. Like, she knows like what they need, and ultimately, like, we can't really provide what they need, because they need like N95 masks, and they need the disposable ones, but we can do what we can. And so she's been a huge help in getting us the correct information so that we can make
That's
these.
so. I know a lot of people. Referred to my mother before. She lives over in Rhode Island. I know that she and several other people are also making masks up there. And I know a lot of folks are turning towards making their own do-it-yourself at-home masks. So, what advice would you have for them to make sure that it's as protective as possible, so it's done correctly?
Um, Mostly just make sure that it's cotton, that is like one of the most important things is the fabric of the material, just because it needs to be breathable. Like you can't just stick leather on top of your face and call it a day. It needs to be breathable. It needs to have like, it needs to be a good filter on its own. Like there's just some material that it's not going to help that much. It's going to feel bad. It's going to be bad. So cotton.
Right.
And other than that, just make it comfortable. If it's not comfortable, you're not going to wear it, and that's not going to be helpful. And if you have any questions, there's a ton of research online that, like there's YouTube videos and tutorials, and there's medical professionals talking about it. You know, there's all kinds of resources to make sure that you're staying safe. And ultimately, just wearing something will help other people, especially if you have symptoms. If you have symptoms, stay at home. But if you absolutely have to get out, have something covering your face.
Yeah, especially with the on the note of if you have symptoms, then please stay at home. I know a lot of people are finding that very difficult to do. A couple weeks back, several of my close friends had started to develop symptoms. I self-quarantined. I went on a trip to California, came back, and my lady immediately developed symptoms. So we've been in self-quarantine for quite a while. But we work from home anyway, so we haven't gone as stir crazy as others. We're pretty used to it at this point. So I know that a lot of people get very nervous about other masks or masks that have been donated from other people, especially since the first immediate concern is, hey, what if you and your mom, what if you become contaminated? Would that contaminate all the different masks themselves? I know you're taking steps to prevent that. How heavy does that weigh in your mind?
It's one of those things where, like, the concern is there. It would be crazy for me to not be concerned about that at all. But the steps that we take, you know, we don't touch our face when we're working on the masks. We make sure to wash our hands and use hand sanitizer constantly. You know, when we're done with the masks, they don't just like go from, you know, place to place in the house. Like there's a location that they go to. You know, when they get to where they're going, they get washed, they are cleaned, there's, you know, efforts in place, because hospitals aren't going to take a random person's mask and just put it on the next patient that they see. Like they're smarter than that. Like, you
Right.
know, they have to take their own precautions just like we do. And so there's so many steps in place. It's one of those things where, like, I feel like I'm being called to do this by God, and like I have a certain level of trust in him that, you know, I am doing what he's asked me to do, so he's not going to use that for evil. Like, you know, he's,
Right.
you know, it's a helpful thing. And there just has to be that level of trust, you know, in our procedures, in, you know, God's overall plan, in the hospital procedures. Like there has to be a certain level of, we're doing the best that we can to make sure that this is a good thing.
As my aunt said, always told me, God doesn't drive parked cars. So at some point, you just have to keep on. You have to show up. You have to keep on trying, and just know that there is a plan. That everything's going to work itself out. Add that with my grandmother. Her mother said, "If you're born to be shot, you'll never be hung." At a certain point, you just have to trust, do the best that you can, and move forward, and just know that everything else is going to take place exactly the way it was supposed to.
Absolutely.
So, what is the hardest obstacle for you to make these masks? It can be material. It could just be personal energy. What do you find to be the most difficult thing keeping you from continuing production?
Making the masks themselves isn't really difficult. Like we've got a really good system going. We have the material that we need. You know, we have a setup that works for us. Like we just kind of get into our groove and go. The most difficult thing really would be being away from my husband and my cats in my home, just because I do this elsewhere. Like I don't stay in my home. Um, I mean, this is the first time that I've been home in 2 weeks. Um,
Mm.
you know, the space that I have here is just too small. Like I don't have the ability to just spread out all this material and set up, sewing machines and, have everything everywhere. Um, and it's just easier for me to be in a different place to make the masks. And it's not just, for production, but also to be near my family while they're going through this. I'm staying at my grandmother's place, and she
Mm.
is afraid to go into places like Walmart and Brookshire's and, do the things that she needs to do. So I'm there to do that for her. And it's so helpful. It's been a real blessing all around. But it is pretty difficult being away from my husband. Like he has to be here because he has a job, like
Right.
my cats get nervous when they get taken to other places. So I can't just pick them up and carry them back and forth. And that's been the hardest part, but there's Zoom and phone calls, and we've been making it work. Um,
One of the aforementioned cats slightly off screen, just watching you.
yes.
So, but how many masks are you able to put together? I know the first day you said that you pulled pretty much an all-nighter to get your first 100.
Yep.
I would assume that it would speed up over time.
Yes. So we've gotten better. After that first night, we took a look at how everything was set up, because the first night we were still trying to figure out how to make them and what the best way would be, all of that. So we worked out a lot of kinks. And so we have a nice little system going now. Over the past 2 weeks, my mom and I specifically have made about 800 masks. And over this past week, the church has gotten involved and they've been able to make another couple hundred. So altogether, like we have about 1,000 masks that we are able to distribute to nursing homes, to hospitals, to EMTs, to prison workers, to people in the church that, they are sick, they need it, elderly, like
Hmm.
they've been going everywhere. And it's been a real blessing. It's been really great being able to get that to people who need it.
So, how can the rest of us, the Tyler community at large, how can we help?
We need people who can sew, people with machines, sewing machines that have the time to sit down and sew these together is the greatest need that we have. We have people who are making kits so that it's just the fabric and some supplies that you need. You get it all and you can put it together. You don't have to cut it out. You don't have to, do all of the prep work. It's just there. You sew it, you're done. So if you don't have time to do all of it, you can at least do that part. And the kits come in numbers of 12.
Hmm. Okay.
All right.
Now, as a final question, I know that there is a mask mandate that has been talked about. Laredo has one. I believe Lufkin is calling for one, and Tyler could, in the Tyler area, could quickly follow in its footsteps. Do you have any thoughts about that? Are you planning for it, or are you just keeping your head down, doing what you can, and uh, yeah.
Um, Ultimately, I think that we need to do everything that we can to help other people. And that's really what all of this is about. It's up to us to,
It was a very
sorry.
interesting bond.
um, but it's up to us to help each other. It's up to us to protect each other. That's why we get vaccines. That's why we all go to the hospital, like, or when we're feeling sick. Like, it's so that we don't spread disease to other people who maybe can't fight it off as well. So anything that we can do to help other people, that's what we need to do. I've been following the CDC and WHO guidelines very closely. I've been making sure to follow any additional guidelines by our city or state. Um, like we need to obey authority in this instance. And it's not like, I don't say that as like, bow down to authority or anything like that. Like, it's like they have our best interest at heart, and we need to be able to trust that. And I know that over the past, few years, decade, whatever, trust has not been in plentiful supply with a lot of institutions, especially media, just because of the sensationalism that they tend to lean towards. But we need to trust each other. Like we need to basically just buckle up and do what we have to do to make sure that we're helping other people. And if that means that I have to wear a mask when I go outside, that's what I'm going to do.
That's right. That's good. I'm probably going to cap things here, but I want to thank you very much for your time, and I'd like to chat with you for a couple minutes afterwards. But thank you very much, Sarah, again for coming, and thank you for these words. I'm going to make sure that this message gets out so that, like you said, everybody needs to band together and everybody needs to help out however they can with whatever skills or talents that they have. If you don't know how to sew, there are lots of other things that you can do to help things out. So thank you very much, Sarah, and I hope you have a great day.